Most people don't fail because they lack ambition. They fail because they rely on goals. We were taught that success begins with setting bigger goals, bigger numbers, bigger dreams, a clearer vision board. Every January feels like a fresh contract with ourselves. This year, I'll lose the weight. I'll save more money. I'll finally start the business. I'll become disciplined. And for a while, it feels powerful. There's something intoxicating about writing down a goal. It gives you a hit of clarity, a spark of identity, a feeling of progress before you've even taken a step. But then life shows up. Work gets busy, energy drops, stress builds, motivation fades, and the goal that once felt exciting slowly becomes heavy, distant, quietly abandoned. If you've ever experienced that cycle, I want you to know something important. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You were simply taught the wrong tool. Years ago, I was stuck in that same pattern. I would set ambitious goals every year, read 40 books, double my income, wake up at 5 a.m. every day. I bought planners. I downloaded productivity apps. I told friends about my plans. By March, I was already behind. By June, I was negotiating with myself. By December, I was disappointed. I kept asking, why can't I stay consistent? Then I noticed something about a close colleague of mine. He never talked about goals. Not once did I hear him say, this year I'm going to transform everything. Instead, he talked about routines. He didn't aim to get in shape. He just went to the gym at 6:30 a.m. every weekday, no matter what. He didn't try to write a book. He wrote 500 words every morning before work. He didn't chase financial freedom. He automated his savings and reviewed his numbers every Sunday. There was nothing dramatic about what he did. No hype, no emotional speeches, no big declarations. But year after year, he kept progressing, not dramatically, predictably. And that word changed everything for me. Predictable. Success shouldn't feel like luck. It shouldn't feel like a burst of motivation followed by guilt. It shouldn't depend on how inspired you feel on a Tuesday morning. It should feel engineered. That's the difference between goals and systems. Goals are about outcomes. Systems are about processes. Goals focus on the future. Systems shape your present. Goals rely on motivation. Systems survive without it. In this audiobook, we're going to dismantle the myth that bigger goals equal bigger success. Instead, we'll build something stronger, something calmer, something sustainable. You'll learn how to design systems that work even on your worst days. Systems that reduce anxiety. Systems that remove decision fatigue. Systems that quietly compound in the background of your life. And more importantly, you'll see how ordinary people, not superhumans, not gurus, transform their lives by shifting from chasing results to building repeatable structures. If you've been frustrated by inconsistency, if you're tired of starting over, if you want success to feel stable instead of stressful, you're in the right place. This is not about hype. It's about structure. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about building a system that supports who you're becoming. And if, as you listen, you think of someone in your life who keeps setting goals but feels stuck in the same cycle, share this video with them. It might be the shift they need to finally build a life that moves forward, steadily and predictably. Chapter 1. The hidden flaw in goal setting. There is a subtle psychological trap built into the way most people approach success. It begins the moment you decide on a goal. The brain loves clarity the moment you define an outcome. I will run a marathon. I will save $50,000. I will launch my own business. Your mind experiences a small reward. You feel organized, directed, purposeful. But here's the paradox. The emotional reward often comes before the real work begins. A few years ago, a friend of mine decided he would run his first marathon. He bought new shoes, expensive ones. He ordered performance gear, downloaded a training app, posted about it online. For 2 weeks, he felt like an athlete. He talked about split times and hydration strategies. He watched videos on running technique. He imagined crossing the finish line, and then training started to hurt. Waking up early wasn't exciting anymore. His legs were sore. The weather turned cold. Work became demanding. He skipped 1 session, then 2. Within a month, the marathon had quietly dissolved into a memory of ambition. Here's what's fascinating. He didn't fail because the goal was unrealistic. He failed because his identity shifted too quickly without structural support. Goals create a temporary identity surge. Systems create permanent identity reinforcement. The problem with traditional goal setting is that it focuses on the event, the marathon, rather than the behavior, becoming someone who runs consistently. The event is emotional. The behavior is mechanical. And mechanics win over time. There's a cognitive bias called the arrival fallacy. It's the illusion that once we achieve a certain milestone, everything changes. We imagine crossing a finish line and feeling transformed. We assume the achievement will sustain motivation indefinitely. But what actually sustains progress is repetition. Let's look at another example. A former colleague of mine wanted to improve his public speaking. His goal was specific: deliver a keynote at a large conference within 2 years. He practiced intensely for a few weeks, joined a speaking club, watched TED-style talks nightly. But his improvement plateaued quickly. Why? Because he approached speaking as preparation for a future moment rather than a daily craft. Eventually, he changed his approach. He created a system. Record a 3-minute video every single day explaining one idea clearly. No audience, no pressure, just repetition. 3 minutes a day. At first, it felt insignificant, but within months, his clarity sharpened. His filler words decreased, his posture improved. He wasn't preparing for a keynote anymore. He was practicing the skill daily. 2 years later, the keynote happened naturally. The system built the capability. The capability attracted the opportunity. Notice the sequence. When you chase goals directly, you experience pressure. When you build systems, you experience progression. Pressure drains energy. Progression builds it. This distinction matters deeply because of how the brain handles uncertainty. Goals are distant and binary. You either achieve them or you don't. That creates anxiety. There is a looming judgment built into every goal. Systems, on the other hand, are ongoing. You either show up today or you don't. The feedback is immediate and manageable. You can correct quickly. You can adapt. There's less drama. Another small story illustrates this perfectly. A neighbor of mine once tried to completely eliminate sugar from his diet. That was the goal: total elimination. He lasted 12 days. On the 13th, he ate a slice of cake at a birthday party and declared the entire effort ruined. All or nothing thinking took over. Later, he redesigned his approach. Instead of banning sugar entirely, he created a simple system: cook at home 6 nights a week. That was it. No obsession with ingredients, no harsh rules at social events. Just 6 home-cooked meals. The result? His sugar intake dropped naturally. His energy stabilized. He lost weight without obsessing over desserts. The system removed the emotional battle. This reveals something powerful. Goals tend to magnify failure. Systems neutralize it. When you're goal-focused, a missed workout feels like a step away from the dream. When you're system-focused, a missed workout is simply a break in routine that gets resumed the next day. The psychological weight is completely different. There's also a deeper layer here. Goals depend heavily on future motivation. Systems depend on present structure. Future motivation is unpredictable. It rises and falls with sleep, stress, relationships, weather, workload. It is unstable by nature. Structure, however, can be designed. If your gym bag sits by the door every night, that's structure. If your savings transfer automatically on payday, that's structure. If your writing time is scheduled before emails begin, that's structure. And structure reduces friction. One of the biggest misconceptions about disciplined people is that they possess superior willpower. In reality, most disciplined individuals are simply better architects of friction. They reduce friction for good behaviors. They increase friction for bad ones. They don't rely on inspiration. They rely on arrangement. Think about your own life for a moment. Where are you depending on emotion instead of engineering? Where are you waiting to feel ready instead of building something repeatable? The hidden flaw in goal setting isn't that goals are useless. Goals can provide direction. They can clarify what matters, but direction without a daily operating system leads to frustration. A GPS destination means nothing if the engine doesn't start every morning. Systems are that engine. They're often boring, quiet, unimpressive from the outside. But they are powerful precisely because they remove the need for constant decision-making. And once decision fatigue decreases, consistency increases. In this chapter, the most important shift is this. Stop asking, "What do I want to achieve?" and start asking, "What does someone who achieves this do every day?" That question changes everything, because once behavior becomes consistent, outcomes become predictable. And predictable success is not dramatic. It's constructed. It's Chapter 2. Designing for predictable success. If you walk into a casino, everything is designed for unpredictability. Lights flash, sounds erupt. Wins and losses are random. The environment is engineered to keep you chasing the next outcome. Now imagine walking into a factory, the opposite experience. No flashing lights, no emotional swings, just structured processes, timelines, repeatable steps, measured outputs. Casinos thrive on chance. Factories thrive on systems. Most people approach their personal growth like a casino. They take emotional bets on bursts of motivation. They gamble on inspiration. They hope that this time will be different. But predictable success is built like a factory. It runs on inputs. Several years ago, a close friend of mine started a small online business. In the beginning, he obsessed over revenue targets, so he refreshed his dashboard constantly. Some days were exciting. A spike in sales felt like proof he was on the right path. Other days were discouraging. No sales felt like failure. His mood followed the numbers. Then something shifted. Instead of tracking revenue daily, he began tracking one thing: how many meaningful conversations he started each day with potential customers. He created a simple rule: initiate 15 valuable conversations every weekday. Not spam messages, not automated pitches, real dialogue. At first, the results didn't change dramatically. Revenue still fluctuated, but something else changed. His anxiety dropped. He stopped waking up wondering, will today be good or bad? He woke up knowing exactly what to do. 15 conversations. Over time, revenue stabilized. It became less volatile. Eventually it grew. But the growth was not the primary transformation. The predictability was. When you shift your focus from outcomes to inputs, you gain control. Outcomes are influenced by external forces, market conditions, other people's decisions, timing, competition, luck. Inputs are influenced by you, and control reduces fear. Think about the difference between hoping to get healthy and committing to walking 8,000 steps every day. The first is vague and vulnerable to circumstance. The second is measurable and actionable. One depends on hope, the other depends on action. There's a powerful mental shift that happens when you measure behaviors instead of results. It transforms uncertainty into process. A former manager of mine used to say, if you can't predict it, you can't scale it. He wasn't talking about business alone, and he applied that philosophy to his personal life. He wanted stronger relationships with his children. Instead of setting a goal like be a better parent, he built a ritual. Every Saturday morning, no phone, just breakfast and a walk with each child individually. No grand speeches, no dramatic resolutions, just protected time. Years later, he told me that those weekly walks shaped his family more than any vacation or gift ever could. The system created depth. Predictable success often looks small in the present moment, but small actions, repeated with intention, generate compounding trust in business, in health, in relationships. Another example illustrates this beautifully. A woman I once worked with wanted to advance in her career. She aimed for a promotion within a year. At first, she tried to impress leadership through intense bursts of productivity. She stayed late occasionally, took on big projects randomly, volunteered for high-visibility tasks. It was exhausting. Eventually, she restructured her approach. She created 3 non-negotiable weekly inputs. Deliver 1 proactive update to her supervisor before being asked. Improve 1 process within her team, no matter how small. Learn 1 new skill related to her role and document it. That was it. No obsession over the promotion itself. No dramatic overwork. Just 3 consistent behaviors. Within 9 months, she was promoted. But more importantly, she wasn't surprised by it. That's a key indicator you're operating within a strong system. Success stops feeling accidental. It feels earned through repetition. This shift also changes how you interpret setbacks. And when your identity is tied to outcomes, a failed result feels like a verdict on your ability. When your identity is tied to inputs, a failed result becomes data. Data is neutral. If you make 20 sales calls and close 0 deals, that's not failure, that's information. You can refine your script, adjust your targeting, improve your tone. But if you aim vaguely to increase sales and nothing happens, frustration grows without clarity. Systems give you levers to pull, and when you have levers, you feel empowered. Predictable success is less about intensity and more about reliability. Intensity is attractive because it feels powerful, but reliability builds trust, both with yourself and others. Imagine someone who works out intensely for 3 weeks and then disappears for 2 months. Compare that to someone who trains moderately but never misses more than 2 days in a row. Which one do you trust to improve over a year? Consistency may not be glamorous, but it is stable. And stability builds confidence. There's also a deeper emotional benefit to systems that often goes unnoticed. They protect your self-respect. Every time you complete a planned behavior, no matter how small, you reinforce a quiet belief. I follow through. That belief compounds faster than external results. You begin to see yourself as dependable, and once you trust yourself, you make bigger commitments naturally. Designing for predictable success means accepting a simple truth. You cannot control the final score, but you can control how often you practice. It means the scoreboard will fluctuate. Effort can remain steady. So instead of asking, how do I guarantee success? Ask a different question. What daily inputs, if repeated for a year, would make failure almost impossible? That question forces clarity. It shifts your focus from dramatic milestones to daily mechanics. And when your days are structured intentionally, your future becomes less uncertain. Not because luck disappears, but because randomness has less power over your direction. Predictable success isn't about eliminating risk. It's about reducing variability in your behavior. And when your behavior becomes stable, your results eventually follow. Chapter 3. Systems that survive. Your worst days. It's easy to design a routine for your best days. On your best days, you wake up energized. Your schedule is clear. Your mood is stable. You feel focused and capable. On those days, almost any productivity method works. The real test of a system is not how it performs when you feel strong. It's how it performs when you feel tired, distracted, stressed, or discouraged. Because those days are not rare. They are inevitable. A few years ago, I spoke with a friend who had been trying to build a consistent meditation practice. For months, he followed ambitious plans. 30 minutes every morning, perfect posture, complete silence. He imagined himself becoming calm, disciplined, centered, and for a while, he did well. But whenever work intensified or travel disrupted his schedule, the entire routine collapsed. Missing one session turned into missing a week. Missing a week turned into starting over. Finally, he made a small but radical change. He created what he called his minimum standard. No matter what happened, no matter how late he slept, how busy his day was, or how stressed he felt, he would sit in silence for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. It felt almost insignificant compared to 30. But here's what happened. He stopped quitting. On chaotic mornings, he still showed up. On exhausting days, he still honored the practice. Some days stretched beyond 2 minutes naturally. Others remained brief, but the identity remained intact. He became someone who meditates daily, even if only briefly. This illustrates a powerful principle. A system should have a floor, not just a ceiling. Most people design their routines around their maximum capability. They plan for ideal conditions, but ideal conditions are unstable. Instead, design your system around your lowest reliable effort. What can you do consistently even when motivation disappears? That is your foundation. There is a hidden danger in all or nothing thinking. It convinces you that if you can't perform at full intensity, it's not worth performing at all. But momentum does not require intensity. It requires continuity. Imagine a musician practicing piano. On some days, she plays for an hour. On other days, she plays for 5 minutes before leaving for work. If she decides that 5 minutes is pointless and skips entirely, the habit weakens. But if she plays even briefly, the rhythm of daily engagement stays alive. Continuity protects identity. And a former co-worker once told me about his approach to fitness. He called it the non-zero rule. His commitment was simple: never let a day pass without some physical movement. Some days meant a full workout. Other days meant 10 push-ups before bed. He said something that stayed with me. I'm not protecting my muscles. I'm protecting my promise. That shift reframes discipline. The real objective is not always performance. It's integrity. When your system survives bad days, you remove the fear of disruption because life will disrupt you. Unexpected deadlines, family emergencies, illness, travel, emotional setbacks. These are not obstacles to your system. They are part of the environment your system must function within. A system that only works in perfect conditions is not a system. It's a wish. To build resilience into your routines, consider creating tiers. Tier 1, your ideal performance. Tier 2, your reduced version. Tier 3, your minimum viable action. For example, if you are building a reading habit, Tier 1 might be reading 20 pages. Tier 2 might be reading 10 pages. Tier 3 might be reading 1 paragraph. You may rarely need Tier 3. But knowing it exists prevents collapse. There is something psychologically comforting about knowing that even on your worst day, you can still win. Another example comes from a small startup team I once observed. They committed to publishing 1 piece of content every weekday. In the beginning, they aimed for long, detailed articles. But whenever they fell behind, they felt pressure and guilt. Eventually, they created a minimum publishable unit. If time was short, they would share a short insight, like a brief lesson or even a curated idea with commentary. The standard was clear: something must ship. Not perfect, not massive, just consistent. Over time, their audience grew. Not because every piece was extraordinary, but because reliability builds trust. Your personal systems operate the same way. Reliability builds self-trust, and self-trust reduces hesitation. There's also an emotional advantage to designing for your worst days. It removes the fear of starting. Many people hesitate to begin new habits because they imagine the full weight of the commitment. 30 minutes a day, forever. Strict diets, intense schedules. But if you define your commitment at a sustainable minimum, starting feels lighter. And starting is often the hardest part. Consider how this applies to writing. A friend of mine wanted to become more articulate. Instead of committing to writing elaborate essays, he promised himself to write one thoughtful sentence per day in a notebook. One sentence. Some days it expanded into paragraphs. Other days it stayed brief. But months later, he had pages filled with ideas. More importantly, he had built fluency. The sentence was small, the impact was cumulative. When you create systems that survive your worst days, you remove the drama from discipline. There is no internal negotiation, no guilt spiral, no restarting ceremony every Monday. There is simply continuity. And continuity is more powerful than bursts of excellence. Ask yourself honestly, what version of your current habits would survive a stressful week? As if the answer is none, your system is too fragile. Strengthen it by shrinking it. Make it so small that skipping feels harder than doing. That is the paradox of durability. The smaller the minimum, the stronger the habit. Over time, you may increase intensity naturally, but you will increase it from a stable base, not from emotional swings. The goal is not to impress yourself on your best days. The goal is to remain steady on your worst ones. Because predictable success is not built during moments of peak motivation. It is built during ordinary, imperfect days when you choose to continue, even minimally, instead of stopping. Design your systems for resilience, then trust that consistency, however small, will compound. Chapter 4. Your environment is the silent architect. Most people believe change begins with a decision. They think transformation starts with willpower. But in reality, change often begins with something far less dramatic. Rearranging the room. Your environment is not neutral. It is constantly shaping your behavior, quietly influencing your choices before you are even aware of them. Consider this small experiment. Imagine placing a bowl of fresh fruit on your kitchen counter. Now imagine placing a box of cookies in the same spot. In both scenarios, you are the same person. Your goals are the same. Your intentions are the same. But your behavior will likely change depending on what is visible, reachable, effortless. This is not weakness. It is human design. A friend of mine once struggled with late-night phone use. That he would promise himself every evening that he would sleep earlier, yet somehow, every night he found himself scrolling in bed. He blamed discipline. But the real issue was proximity. The phone was within arm's reach. The charger was beside the bed. The habit required no effort. So he made a small adjustment. He began charging his phone in the living room overnight. The first night felt uncomfortable. The silence felt strange. But within a week, his sleep improved dramatically. He didn't become more disciplined. He changed the architecture of his environment. Your surroundings either support your systems or sabotage them. There is a concept in behavioral science often referred to as choice architecture. It suggests that the way options are presented affects the decisions people make. Restaurants know this, grocery stores know this, social media platforms certainly know this. But rarely do individuals apply this insight to their own lives. Look at your workspace. Is it designed for focus or distraction? A colleague of mine used to complain about his inability to concentrate while working from home. His desk faced a television, notifications were always on, snacks were scattered across the table. He assumed the issue was internal. One weekend, he redesigned the room. He removed the television entirely, turned his desk toward a blank wall, disabled notifications, placed only a notebook and laptop on the surface. The difference was immediate. Focus became easier. Not because he forced himself, but because distractions were no longer visually competing for attention. Your brain responds strongly to visual cues. What you see repeatedly becomes what you think about repeatedly. If you want to read more, books should be visible. If you want to practice guitar, the instrument should be accessible, not stored in a closet. If you want to eat healthier, nutritious food should be prepared and placed where it's easy to grab. Environment design is about reducing friction for the behaviors you want and increasing friction for those you don't. Another powerful example comes from a neighbor who wanted to reduce impulsive spending. Online shopping had become an unconscious habit during stressful days. Packages arrived constantly. Instead of trying to resist temptation through willpower alone, she created barriers. She removed saved credit card information from websites, logged out after every purchase, placed a sticky note on her laptop that read, "Wait 24 hours." These small obstacles slowed the impulse. Most purchases disappeared after a day. The system didn't eliminate desire. It interrupted automatic behavior, and interruption creates awareness. There's also a social dimension to environment that often goes unnoticed. The people around you shape your standards. If you spend time with individuals who prioritize health, you naturally absorb healthier norms. If you spend time with people who complain constantly, your perspective shifts accordingly. Environment is not just physical, it is relational. A friend once joined a local running group. Before that, she struggled to run alone consistently. But once surrounded by others who treated training as normal, attendance became easier. She later told me something revealing. It stopped feeling like a heroic act. Now it just felt like what we do. When a behavior becomes normal in your environment, it requires less internal negotiation. That's the hidden strength of social architecture. Even digital environments matter. Look at your phone's home screen. Are the first apps you see aligned with your priorities? Or are they distractions? One small tactic I've seen work repeatedly is reorganizing digital space. Move learning apps to the front page. Place social media inside folders. Disable non-essential notifications. These are subtle shifts, but subtle shifts repeated daily influence your trajectory. There is also a deeper psychological benefit to environmental design. It reduces decision fatigue. Every unnecessary decision drains mental energy. When your surroundings are organized intentionally, you remove countless micro-decisions. Where should I sit? What should I eat? Should I check this notification? Fewer decisions mean more energy for meaningful work. Think of an athlete preparing for competition. Their gear is ready. Their schedule is structured. Their nutrition is planned. They are not improvising every morning. Preparation simplifies execution. You can apply this same principle to any area of your life. If you want to write regularly, create a dedicated writing corner. Keep your notebook open. Eliminate unrelated items from the desk. If you want to exercise consistently, lay out your clothes the night before. Place your shoes where you cannot ignore them. If you want to practice gratitude, keep a journal on your pillow so you see it before sleep. These actions may seem small, but they remove excuses before they form. The truth is, most failures are not dramatic collapses. They are tiny moments of friction that accumulate until the desired behavior feels inconvenient. When friction decreases, consistency increases. You don't need more self-control. You need better design. Walk through your home with fresh eyes. Ask yourself, what is this room encouraging me to do? Because every space carries an invitation. Your kitchen invites certain eating habits. Your office invites certain work patterns. Your phone invites certain mental states. If your environment is aligned with distraction, your system will struggle. If your environment is aligned with focus, your system will strengthen naturally. Transformation often begins not with a bold declaration, but with moving an object, rearranging a desk, deleting an app, placing a book on a table. Small adjustments, quiet power. Your environment is the silent architect of your behavior. Design it carefully, and your systems will feel lighter, not harder. Chapter 5. Stack the habit. Strengthen the chain. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to improve their lives is attempting to build new behaviors in isolation. They treat each habit like a separate project. Start waking up early. Start journaling. Start exercising. Start studying. Each one feels like a new mountain, but there is a more efficient way to build systems, by attaching new behaviors to ones that already exist. Human beings are creatures of sequence. We move through our days in predictable patterns. Wake up, brush teeth, make coffee, check messages, drive to work, sit at a desk, eat lunch. These patterns form invisible chains. Instead of creating entirely new chains, you can strengthen the ones already there. A friend of mine once struggled to maintain a gratitude practice. He bought journals, set reminders, and watched motivational videos about positive thinking, and still forgot most days. Then he made one small adjustment. He decided he would write one sentence of gratitude immediately after brushing his teeth at night, not before bed, not at some abstract time. Specifically after brushing his teeth. The toothbrush became the trigger. Because brushing was already automatic, the new behavior piggybacked on an established routine. Within weeks, gratitude became effortless. This is the power of habit stacking. When you attach a new action to an existing one, you eliminate the need to search for time. The sequence creates momentum. Another example illustrates this beautifully. A colleague wanted to improve his posture and reduce back pain from long hours at a desk. And instead of setting reminders every hour, which he ignored, he connected posture checks to something he was already doing constantly: sending emails. Every time he hit send, he would sit up straight and take one deep breath. It sounds minor. But over the course of a day, he sent dozens of emails, dozens of posture corrections, dozens of breaths. Within months, his back pain decreased noticeably. The email didn't change, the sequence did. When building systems, think in chains rather than isolated acts. What do you already do daily without effort? Drink coffee, start your car, sit at your desk, shut down your computer. Each one is an anchor point. Anchors are powerful because they are stable. Imagine someone who wants to read more but struggles to find time. Instead of planning long sessions, they decide to read one page while waiting for their morning coffee to brew. Coffee becomes the anchor. Over time, one page turns into 3. 3 turns into 10. But the key is that the anchor remains constant. The habit feels less like a burden and more like a natural extension of something familiar. This approach also reduces resistance. Resistance often arises from the feeling that a new habit requires extra energy. But when it is seamlessly attached to an existing action, it feels integrated rather than imposed. There's an interesting story about a musician who wanted to improve finger strength for guitar playing. Instead of carving out a separate practice block every day, he placed his guitar on a stand next to the couch. Every time he sat down to watch television, he played scales during commercials. The television wasn't removed, and the behavior was layered. Months later, his dexterity had improved dramatically, without adding extra time to his schedule. Stacking habits doesn't demand more hours, it demands smarter sequencing. There's also a psychological advantage to this method. It builds continuity. When behaviors are chained together, skipping one disrupts the flow of the next. That subtle tension encourages consistency. Consider a simple morning chain. Wake up, make the bed, drink a glass of water, review one priority for the day. If one link weakens, the chain feels incomplete. This sense of flow can become deeply satisfying, and satisfaction reinforces repetition. Another friend wanted to strengthen family connection in the evenings. Instead of declaring more quality time, he created a simple sequence. After dinner, dishes go into the sink. Then everyone shares one highlight from their day before leaving the table. The dinner became the anchor. Over time, this ritual created deeper communication without formal family meetings or heavy discussions. The structure did the work. Stacking habits also helps prevent overwhelm. Trying to overhaul your life at once often leads to collapse. But adding one small behavior to an existing routine feels manageable. After pouring your morning coffee, stretch for 30 seconds. After locking your car, review your intention for the day. After turning off your laptop, write tomorrow's first task. Tiny additions, significant accumulation, and because these additions are small, they are sustainable. It's important, however, to be intentional about what you stack. Link habits that naturally complement each other. Physical actions pair well with physical anchors. Mental actions pair well with reflective moments. For example, journaling pairs naturally with bedtime. Reviewing goals pairs naturally with the start of work. Stretching pairs naturally with waking up. The smoother the connection, the stronger the chain. There's a final insight here that many overlook. Habit stacking is not just about productivity. It's about identity. Each time you attach a purposeful action to something ordinary, you elevate the ordinary. Brushing your teeth becomes a cue for reflection. Making coffee becomes a cue for learning. Closing your laptop becomes a cue for gratitude. Your day transforms from a series of automatic movements into a sequence of intentional rituals. And rituals create meaning. When you look back months from now, you won't remember the grand declarations. You will remember the small, repeated actions that quietly shaped your days. So instead of asking, how can I fit more into my life? Ask, where can I attach something meaningful to what I already do? Strengthen the chain. Because when the chain is strong, the system holds. And when the system holds, progress becomes natural rather than forced. Chapter 6. Measure what moves. Ignore what distracts. There is a quiet difference between tracking progress and chasing numbers. One creates clarity, the other creates anxiety. Many people abandon their systems not because the system is ineffective, but because the way they measure progress becomes emotionally exhausting. Tracking is meant to inform you. It is not meant to judge you. A few years ago, a friend of mine decided to improve his finances. He began checking his investment account every morning. If the market was up, he felt confident and optimistic. If it dipped, his mood darkened. Nothing about his long-term strategy had changed, but daily fluctuations began to control his emotional state. Eventually, a mentor gave him a simple instruction. Check your portfolio once per month. Instead, to track your contribution rate weekly. That one change shifted everything. Instead of obsessing over market swings he couldn't control, he focused on what he could, how much he was consistently investing. The emotional volatility disappeared. Progress became steady. When building systems, you must decide carefully what you measure. If you measure outcomes too frequently, you will experience noise instead of signal. Noise leads to doubt. Signal leads to adjustment. Imagine someone trying to lose weight who weighs themselves 3 times a day. Natural water fluctuations would create unnecessary stress. But if they track weekly trends alongside daily habits, steps taken, meals prepared, workouts completed, the data becomes useful. Good tracking is simple. It answers one question: am I executing the behavior consistently? And a colleague once shared his approach to writing. He did not track how many readers he gained each week. He tracked only one metric, whether he wrote 500 words per day. He used a simple calendar and placed an X on each day he completed his writing session. No spreadsheets, no analytics dashboards, just visible proof of consistency. After several months, he said something powerful. "I stopped worrying about whether I'm a good writer. I just look at the chain." The chain didn't lie. This method works because it shifts attention from evaluation to execution. Evaluation can paralyze. Execution builds momentum. Another example comes from a teacher I once met who wanted to improve classroom engagement. Instead of judging herself by overall student performance immediately, she tracked a single daily behavior, asking at least 5 open-ended questions during each class. 5 questions. Some days were exceptional, others were average, but she had a clear lever to pull. By focusing on controllable behaviors, she gained insight without emotional overload. There is also a subtle danger in overcomplicating metrics. Many people create elaborate tracking systems that look impressive but are difficult to maintain. They track dozens of variables, color-code spreadsheets, and design complex dashboards. After a few weeks, the tracking becomes more exhausting than the behavior itself. A system should feel supportive, not burdensome. Simplicity sustains attention. Ask yourself, what is the smallest metric that would tell me whether I'm staying consistent? If you want to practice a skill, then track practice sessions, not perfection. If you want to improve health, track workouts, not mirror reflections. If you want to strengthen relationships, track intentional conversations, not emotional outcomes. The metric should encourage repetition, not obsession. There's a powerful psychological principle at play here. What gets measured gets repeated, but what gets overmeasured gets feared. Fear disrupts continuity. I once knew an entrepreneur who refreshed his website analytics dozens of times per day. He believed constant awareness would drive improvement. Instead, it created distraction. He eventually limited himself to reviewing data every Friday afternoon. The rest of the week was reserved for creating value. His productivity increased, his stress decreased. Data became feedback, not noise. And another friend took a different approach when building a reading habit. Instead of tracking pages or hours, she tracked streaks. Consecutive days she engaged with a book, even briefly. The streak motivated her more than page counts. Why? Because streaks represent identity, continuity. Breaking a streak feels like breaking a promise, but even streaks must be handled carefully. If the metric becomes rigid, it can create unnecessary pressure. That's why flexibility within structure matters. Perhaps the most important principle in tracking is this: separate measurement from self-worth. Data describes behavior. It does not define you. If you miss a workout, the data says, "No workout today." It does not say, "You are undisciplined." When you detach identity from numbers, you create room for improvement without shame. Shame weakens systems. Clarity strengthens them. Consider implementing a weekly review ritual. Once per week, sit down and ask, did I execute my key behaviors? What obstacles appeared? What adjustments can I make? This reflection transforms tracking into learning. Learning fuels progress. There is also value in celebrating small wins. When you see evidence of consistency, acknowledge it, quietly, without exaggeration. A check mark on a calendar, a completed checklist, a visible chain of effort. These small confirmations build confidence. Confidence reinforces repetition. But remember, the goal of tracking is not to create pressure, it is to provide guidance. If your tracking system makes you feel overwhelmed, simplify it. If it makes you feel judged, adjust the metric. If it distracts you from the work itself, reduce frequency. Now, your system should free mental space, not consume it. Measure what moves you forward, ignore what distracts you emotionally. And when in doubt, return to the simplest question: did I show up today? Because showing up, consistently measured and calmly reviewed, transforms effort into progress, and progress into predictable results. Chapter 7. Become the type of person who. There is a subtle but powerful shift that happens when you stop focusing on what you want to achieve and start focusing on who you want to become. Most systems fail not because they are poorly designed, but because they are not connected to identity. If you see yourself as someone trying to get organized, your actions will feel temporary. If you see yourself as an organized person, your actions become expressions of who you are. This difference changes everything. Several years ago, I met a man who had smoked for nearly 2 decades. He had tried quitting multiple times. Each attempt began the same way: new rules, strict limits, dramatic declarations. And each time, stress or social situations pulled him back. One day, during a casual conversation, someone offered him a cigarette. And instead of saying, "I'm trying to quit," he said something different: "I don't smoke." It wasn't entirely true yet, but he decided to adopt that identity fully. When cravings came, he didn't argue with himself about discipline. He simply repeated the statement internally: "I'm not a smoker." Over time, the behavior aligned with the identity. He later told me that the turning point wasn't a strategy, it was self-definition. Systems anchored in identity are stronger than systems anchored in desire. Desire fluctuates. Identity stabilizes. If you build a system to read more books, you may stop when life becomes busy. But if you build a system because you are someone who reads daily, skipping feels inconsistent with who you are. The action becomes part of your character. A colleague of mine once struggled with punctuality. He was talented, intelligent, capable, but frequently late. He tried alarms, reminders, strict scheduling. Nothing lasted. Eventually, he reframed the issue. He decided he wanted to become a reliable person. Not just punctual, reliable. That identity influenced more than arrival times. It influenced preparation, communication, follow-through. He began arriving 10 minutes early, not to impress others, but because reliability mattered to him. The system, leaving earlier, setting buffers, supported the identity. But the identity gave the system meaning. This approach transforms discipline from external pressure into internal alignment. Instead of forcing behavior, you express character. There is also a deeper psychological mechanism at play. Humans naturally act in ways that confirm their self-image. When your actions contradict your identity, discomfort arises. That discomfort can either cause you to abandon the action or update your identity. If you say, "I'm terrible with money," you will subconsciously confirm that belief through careless spending. But if you begin to say, "I'm learning to be financially responsible," your choices begin to shift. Language matters. The stories you tell yourself shape the systems you sustain. Another powerful example comes from a woman I once met at a workshop. She wanted to become healthier but felt overwhelmed by complex diet plans and fitness programs. Instead of adopting a rigid routine, she chose a simple identity statement: "I am someone who respects my body." That statement guided small daily decisions: drinking water instead of soda, going to bed earlier, stretching after long meetings. Her system wasn't dramatic, but it was consistent, and because it was rooted in respect rather than restriction, it felt empowering rather than punishing. Identity-based systems also create resilience during setbacks. If you miss a workout and your goal was simply exercise 3 times a week, you may feel like you failed the plan. But if your identity is, "I'm someone who takes care of my strength," one missed session doesn't threaten that belief. You return the next day because it aligns with who you are. Identity provides continuity beyond performance. There is a simple exercise you can try. Complete the sentence. I am the type of person who... Fill it in 3 times. I am the type of person who keeps promises. I am the type of person who learns daily. I'm the type of person who finishes what I start. These statements are not affirmations for motivation. They are standards for behavior. Once defined, design your systems to reinforce them. If you are the type of person who learns daily, your system might include 10 minutes of study each morning. If you are the type of person who values relationships, your system might include 1 intentional message or call each day. If you are the type of person who builds wealth patiently, your system might include automatic savings and regular reviews. The identity sets direction. The system sustains action. There's also an interesting phenomenon called identity stacking. As you reinforce one positive identity, others follow. When you begin to see yourself as disciplined in one area, you become more likely to act disciplined elsewhere. When you prove reliability to yourself repeatedly, confidence grows. Confidence influences risk-taking. Risk-taking influences growth. It begins with one small alignment. A friend once described his transformation not as a dramatic reinvention, but as becoming slightly more like the person I admire every day. He didn't aim for perfection. He aimed for alignment. Each small action, reading instead of scrolling, preparing meals instead of ordering impulsively, showing up on time, reinforced the version of himself he wanted to embody. Over time, the gap between intention and identity narrowed. And when identity and behavior align, life feels steadier. You no longer rely on bursts of motivation, and you act because it is consistent with who you are. That is the quiet power of identity-based systems. They remove negotiation, they simplify choice, they create coherence. And coherence builds strength. So instead of asking, "What do I want to accomplish this year?" ask something deeper. Who am I becoming? Then build systems that make that identity visible in your daily life. Because when your systems reflect your identity, success stops being a distant target. It becomes a natural consequence of who you are. Chapter 8. The Quiet Power of Compounding. There is a reason most people underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years and overestimate what they can achieve in 5 weeks. We are wired for immediacy. We want visible progress, quick transformation, dramatic shifts. When change feels slow, we assume it isn't working. But systems do not operate on drama. They operate on accumulation. Compounding is not exciting at first. In fact, it is almost invisible. The early stages feel uneventful, sometimes even discouraging. But beneath the surface, something powerful is building. A friend of mine once planted a small tree in his backyard. For the first year, it barely grew. A thin trunk, a few leaves, nothing impressive. Neighbors joked that it looked fragile, but he watered it consistently, protected it from harsh weather, and adjusted the soil when needed. By the 3rd year, it was noticeably taller. By the 5th year, it cast shade across half the yard. The growth was not dramatic day by day. It was dramatic over time. Systems work the same way. When you read 10 pages a day, you don't feel like a scholar by the end of the week. But after a year, you have read over a dozen books. When you invest modestly each month, you don't feel wealthy in the first year. But over a decade, growth accelerates. When you practice a skill daily, improvement feels slow until one day someone comments, "You've become really good at this." Compounding rewards patience, and patience is rare. There's a powerful story about a craftsman who built furniture by hand, and he once said that mastery isn't about working harder on a single piece. It's about refining the same motion thousands of times. Each repetition is nearly identical. Sand, cut, measure, polish. The first few pieces are average. The next few improve slightly. But after years, the quality becomes exceptional. Not because of a single breakthrough, but because of accumulated refinement. Systems provide the repetitions. Compounding provides the transformation. The challenge is that compounding is emotionally quiet. There are no fireworks in the early stages, no applause, no immediate validation. That's why many people quit too early. They mistake slow progress for failure, but slow progress is often the foundation of exponential growth. Consider learning a language. In the beginning, memorizing vocabulary feels disconnected. Words don't form sentences easily. Conversations feel awkward, but each word learned adds to a base. Each conversation builds neural pathways. Eventually, something shifts. You start thinking in the language. Responses become automatic. The leap appears sudden, but it was built gradually. Compounding also works negatively. Skipping small habits repeatedly may not seem harmful at first. One missed workout, one unnecessary purchase, one day of procrastination. But small neglect, repeated consistently, also accumulates. This is why systems matter so deeply. They determine the direction of your accumulation. A colleague once shared how he improved his public speaking over several years. Instead of chasing major conferences immediately, he accepted every small opportunity to present. Team meetings, local workshops, even online forums. And each session was modest. Sometimes only 5 or 10 listeners, but each one refined his delivery slightly. Over time, invitations grew larger, confidence grew stronger. The compounding effect of small experiences created authority. He didn't wake up one day transformed. He simply kept showing up. There is a financial principle called interest on interest. Your gains begin to generate their own gains. Personal growth works the same way. When you build knowledge consistently, that knowledge creates new opportunities. Those opportunities expand your network. That network leads to collaborations. Collaborations produce further growth. Small actions create expanding consequences. The key is staying consistent long enough for the curve to bend upward. Many people abandon their systems right before the curve begins to accelerate. They stand at the base of the mountain, unaware that just beyond the ridge, the view changes completely. This is why emotional stability is so important in system building. If you rely on excitement to continue, you will quit during the flat stages. If you rely on structure, you will endure them. A simple way to visualize compounding is to imagine improving just 1% each day in a specific skill. 1% is barely noticeable, but sustained over months, the improvement becomes substantial. It's not about dramatic leaps, it's about direction. Another small story illustrates this clearly. A woman I once met wanted to improve her writing. Instead of aiming to publish immediately, she committed to rewriting one paragraph every day from something she had previously written. One paragraph. At first, the changes were minor. Word choice improved slightly. Sentences became clearer. But after months of refinement, her style transformed. Clarity sharpened. Voice strengthened. She didn't chase recognition. She chased refinement, and refinement compounds. There is something deeply reassuring about compounding. It means you do not need extraordinary days. You need ordinary days repeated. It means you do not need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. It means that progress is often happening even when you cannot see it clearly. Trusting compounding requires faith in the process, but it is not blind faith. It is structured faith. Faith supported by daily action. When your systems are steady, you can step back and allow time to do its work. Time is neutral. Paired with chaos, it magnifies disorder. Paired with structure, it magnifies growth. In the end, predictable success is not the result of one brilliant decision. It is the result of thousands of small, aligned actions accumulated over years, quietly, patiently, relentlessly. The power of compounding is not loud, but it is unstoppable. You don't need a new goal after listening to this. You need a new way of operating. Throughout this journey, we didn't chase hype. We didn't talk about dramatic overnight transformations or impossible standards. Instead, we walked through something quieter and far more powerful. We explored why traditional goal setting often collapses under pressure, not because you lack ambition, but because ambition without structure fades. We examined how predictable success is built through controllable inputs, not emotional highs. We learned to design systems that survive bad days, because resilience matters more than intensity. We looked at your environment and how it silently shapes your behavior, often more than willpower ever could. We discovered how stacking small habits onto existing routines can turn ordinary moments into powerful rituals. And we talked about measuring what truly matters, tracking behavior without letting numbers define your worth. We stepped into identity, understanding that lasting change happens when your systems reflect who you are becoming, not just what you want to achieve. And finally, we embraced the quiet power of compounding, the understanding that small, repeated actions over time create outcomes that once felt unreachable. None of this is dramatic, and that's the point. Sustainable success is not dramatic. It's deliberate, it's structured, it's repeated. Right now, you might feel inspired. That's natural, but inspiration fades. Structure remains. So instead of asking yourself, what big change should I make? Ask something smaller and more powerful. What is one system I can begin tomorrow? Not 5, not 10. One daily action that aligns with the person you want to become. Maybe it's writing one paragraph every morning. Maybe it's preparing your clothes the night before. Maybe it's reading one page before bed. Maybe it's reviewing your finances every Sunday. Shrink it until it feels sustainable. Build it into your environment. Attach it to something you already do. Track it simply. Let it compound. And then protect it. Protect it from your own excuses. Protect it from emotional swings. Protect it from perfectionism. Because when you protect your systems begin to protect your future. Months from now, you won't remember the day you felt motivated. You will see the results of what you quietly repeated. The most powerful shift you can make is this. Stop trying to change your entire life at once. Start engineering your days. And your days create your weeks. Your weeks create your years. Your years create your life. And if this message resonated with you, if you know someone who keeps setting goals but feels stuck in cycles of starting and stopping, share this video with them. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is a new framework for how to think about progress. Thank you for spending this time here. Thank you for choosing depth over distraction. Your attention is valuable, and I don't take that lightly. If you found this helpful, stay with us. There's more to explore. More systems to design, more mental frameworks to build, more quiet strength to develop. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, build steadily, repeat consistently, and trust the systems you create.